Hello everyone, welcome to Tips on Tuesday. I'm Sue here at Blue Heron Hill and I'm in the kitchen today. So this is a kitchen tip. Are you inundated with tomatoes? Not only your big beautiful slicers that are going to be made into sauce and all sorts of fresh eating, but I am inundated with cherry and grape tomatoes. Look at all of these, and this isn't even all that I've picked. Just a few. But today I'm going to show you how you can process these into a very lovely, lasting product that you can is multifunctional. So I have cherries here. Like here I have these are called Sun Peach. These are Sun Golds. I also have Midnight Snack. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous cherry tomato. Purple shoulders and a bright red bottom like that. Oh, just so gorgeous and just as delicious. And of course, my favorite, Sun Gold. I also have little tiny, these are currant tomatoes. They are called Candylands. But these are just strictly for eating because you just pop them in your mouth and they never usually make it in from the garden. So, but what I'm going to be doing with these is I'm going to be slicing them up and we're going to roast them in the oven and kind of dry them out a la a sun-dried tomato. But we're not drying them in the sun. We're going to dry them in the oven. And so I'm going to go, I have, these are Juliet's. This is a lovely tomato. It has a lot of qualities of a plum tomato. The skins aren't really thin, but yet they aren't a real thick skinned tomato. But I'm going to primarily use these. I will have a tray of these, and then I will have a tray of some cherry tomatoes. The skins are very thin, and so they will cook up at a different rate than a little bit thicker skinned tomato like these Juliet's. So I have a colander here full. I'm going to do 2 trays, one of the Juliet's and one of the other cherries. I'm going to wash these up real good. You're going to just, all you need to do is take the stem end off and wash them up, and then we'll cut them up on the trays, put them in the oven, and we'll go through that process. So let me get started. One thing really nice about making these sun-dried tomatoes or oven-dried tomatoes is you leave the skins on. You don't have to worry about that. They will process up very nicely, super flavorful even with the skins on and the seeds inside. Not like your your paste tomatoes and your slicing tomatoes, which oftentimes you want to take the skins off, or you don't. Oftentimes I just leave them on, depending upon how I process the tomato. So I have my baking sheets here. I put parchment paper on it. You don't have to, although the tomatoes have a lot of sugar in them and they will brown on your pans if you're not careful with them. Okay, here you are. You're over my shoulder here. And cut them up just so they butterfly and just a bit of the skin stays together. Like that. And then line them up on your tray. And there's plenty more to do here. All right, for seasonings, really, the sky's the limit in your seasonings and what you use. The only thing I don't want to use is salt at this particular time, because the salt is going to draw out the moisture. And they are moist enough here, and I don't really need that. So my preference is a little black pepper. Now these can always be seasoned when you use them in whatever dish you wish. So a little black pepper, and then I have some Italian herbs. This is a blend that I usually make up. Thyme, oregano, rosemary, marjoram I think I have some at sometimes. Every year it's just a little bit different ratio depending upon what I have in my garden. So tiny little sprinkle on each one of these. There we go. And now they're ready to go into the oven. I wanted to mention before, in cutting these up, and the reason I cut them up into quarters is there's now more surface area for which the moisture can evaporate, and it won't take as long to dry these out. So they're going to go into the oven. I have it on 325. I'm going to be checking this. I will check it after about 20 minutes and probably rotate my trays and see how they look. And so I will bring you back when I do the first check. Here we are at the 20-minute mark, and they are starting to dry out, but they definitely aren't ready yet. Here is the tray of small cherries. You want to, it's probably been an hour, a little over an hour. I have some little crispy bits along the edges, just a tiny bit, and right now they're still a little soft in the center, but I don't want to risk them burning. And since these were a very thin-skinned tomato, that will happen very quickly. As you can see, some of these on the outside edge here tend to crisp up just a little bit bigger. So, and as these cool, they'll kind of shrivel a little bit. So I'm going to let them cool a little bit longer. The other ones are still in the oven, and they will probably be there for maybe another 15 to 20 minutes. So, and then I think I'm gathering some ingredients for a little recipe to use these with. So stay tuned. Here is my second tray of tomatoes. These are the Juliets. These are the grape tomatoes. A little bit tougher skin than my cherry tomatoes. I put them on a plate here to just cool down just a little bit, because I'm going to want to use them right away. These I will also remove them and put them on a tray here, or on a plate. Help them cool down a little bit. Take them off this hot pan that they're in, baking sheet. These have a little bit of crispiness around the edges. Nothing that's turned too burnt or black, although a little bit is not too bad. Adds a little flavor to it, but you don't want too much. So there we have our sun-dried tomatoes, or oven-dried tomatoes in this case. And you say, what do you use them for? The sky's the limit, really. These are so flavorful. They have a very intense tomatoey flavor. I think these would probably be a little sweeter than these, because most of these are a sweeter tomato, like the Sun Golds. But what I thought I'd do is, and if you see this little plate of goodies here, we will make some sun-dried tomato pesto. So I'm gonna get my little food processor out here. I'm not gonna make that much. I'm just going to make just a partial recipe here. So I'm gonna take about half of these, or about a half a cup, I think. And then about a half a cup of these Juliets. There you go. Let's kind of squish them down a bit. And they go in my mini food processor here. So the entire time it took for these was, I'll back up, this was about an hour, and this was about an hour, 20, 25 minutes. But you gotta keep your eye on it so they don't burn. Okay, so in here we're going to put, I have 3 cloves of garlic, which I'll just do a little rough chop on. No exact measurements here. It's kind of all up to you. If you like a little bit more garlic, that's great. Now, some basil, fresh out of the garden. This is running down to the last of my basil. As much as you want to use. This is probably a loosely about a cup of loose packed basil. I'm going to give this a little whirl, and what I have here is some Parmesan cheese. I'm not going to put that in quite yet. I'm going to add a little olive oil to get this moving. There we go. A little chunky. This is about a 1/4 cup. Well, this is probably a little bit more than a 1/4 cup, but if you have about a cup of the tomatoes, you need about a 1/4 of a cup of cheese. Now this is a little bit of a pasty consistency. If you want it a little looser, put a little bit more oil in it. This is not a recipe that you can can. Let's say that. Fits very nicely in my 1 cup jar, and that's going to go into the fridge for use on any number of recipes that I have. Now, what do I do with the rest of these? I'm going to kind of mix them all together here. Now, here's another way of preserving this. I have another little canning jar here. Pack it down into your jar. I'm sure you've seen in the stores, they sell sun-dried tomatoes packed in oil. And here I have some olive oil. And I'll just fill it up. Let's see. Squeeze all the air bubbles out. And you can just let this marinate in those oils. Whatever you use. If you use olive oil, know that when you put it in the refrigerator, the oil is going to have a tendency to solidify. But once you pull it out to room temperature, it will come back into its natural state like this. So this is a way of preserving it and putting this into the refrigerator. This works great in all of your dishes that do require some kind of an oil. Maybe in your pasta salads, or when you fry your chicken up, or your meats, whatever you're going to use it on. This is an excellent way. Another way is to freeze it. And I'll just get a Ziploc bag. And slip it into a Ziploc bag. I like to press it down nice and flat. Get all of the air out of there as much as you possibly can. And freeze it like this. And when you're ready to use it, or if you need to use it, all you have to do is break off a portion as much as you want and use that, and then pop that back in the freezer. One of my favorite ways to use these sun-dried tomatoes is on pizza. In lieu of a pizza sauce, just sun-dried tomatoes, mozzarella cheese, and some basil. It makes a delicious pizza. So thanks for following along with me on this video of tips on Tuesday, making sun-dried tomatoes with all of these cherry and grape tomatoes that you have an overabundance of this harvest season. So I have 3 ways of preserving it, and I hope you give it a try. So for the next time that we can go digging in the dirt out there or here cooking in the kitchen. See ya. Bye.